Welcome to Life Mastery for Women. I'm your host, Jen Mack, Lady of the Mind. I've been studying mind mastery and emotional management and energy work and its connection to spirituality for over 25 years. And in this podcast, I help guide you out of your daily struggles in life in the areas of health, wealth, relationships, and spirituality. Life is hard, but your daily growth doesn't have to be. Join me 3 times a week as I lead you inward on a healing, connecting, and creating journey. Let's go get that nugget of inspiration towards your transformation. Hey ladies, it's Jen Mack, Lady of the Mind. Welcome to today's episode where I hope I am finding you meditating successfully. And if you're not meditating successfully, then it is our intention that we give you just one nugget of inspiration towards your transformation. So I have Amy with me again today. Again, we're trying to do some podcasts together and kind of find our voice and find our groove. And so we decided we're going to talk about meditation today. And I've been meditating for a long time. If you listen to my podcasts on other episodes, I talk about my journey with meditation and some of my struggles. But I wanted to give a different perspective about what Amy is doing and her struggles and her knowledge and desire to pick up meditation, and then what her successes have been recently. So welcome to the show, Amy.
Well, hello.
I love bringing her on the show. I love because I get to listen to a different voice in my lit up headphones.
Maybe that's what they like too, is a little bit of a different voice.
Yeah. A really happier, different. We bring a different element, I think, to the show with us talking with each other. My voice is different and our energy is different together. So that's a lot of fun. I'm glad that you're doing this with me.
Me too.
Did you hear that big bang when I hit my headphones?
What did you do?
Sorry, I was stretching my.
Hold still.
Doesn't matter.
Hold
Okay.
still.
All right. Let's talk about meditation.
Speaking of focus.
So, Amy and I have been together now for it's like 12 years now, I think.
Pretty close.
And I used to drone on and on and on and on about energy work and the law of attraction and metaphysics and subconscious mind versus conscious mind and everything. I was reading new epiphanies all the time, and I'd stand at the foot of the bed and go on and on, or she's like starting to fall asleep, and I'm like, wait, there's more, and telling her about page 154 and something that was going on in some book anyway. And so she actually came along on this journey pretty well. Really tried to take in the information. And I think it was hard in the beginning to keep up with me. I was reading a ton of books back then. I still read a lot, but I was consuming fire hose amounts of energy or information.
And therefore, I was also receiving by fire hose much information.
And it was,
dare I say, most of it washed over me.
Yes. Well, and when you're learning something, the best way to learn it and to integrate it is to teach it.
Yes.
And my whole life is all about teaching, right? And so she's been a great student about this information. And then the implementation has been pretty good on my end because I'm so involved in this this topic, these topics, I should say. And so I would come in and be like, okay, so we should start setting intentions. She's like, oh, okay. How do we do that? And I'm like, okay. And I'd come up with the tool, and she's like, okay, let's do it. And I would do it, a few days in a row, and then she would kind of fall off. I'm like, okay, we need to get back to doing that. And then pretty soon I'm in a different book. I'm like, okay, we need to meditate every day. And she's like, okay, how do we do that? And I said, okay, let's try this. And we would do it, 3, 4, 5 times in a row. And I was having different types of success because of what I was doing. But with you, let's go back in time and begin the journey when we were talking about meditation. What do you remember what your thoughts were back then about meditation in general? And she's kind of, I would say, started out kind of being an atheist, I would say, I don't know if this is just life. And I didn't grow up in a church. And so tell us whatever you want to share about that part of your life and your background. And
oh, sure. Well, gosh, we didn't talk about that ahead of time. Put me on the spot a little bit.
Sorry, it's what makes it more natural.
You're absolutely right. I mean, I did not grow up in going to church. And it wasn't a good, bad, or an otherwise thing for me. It just was. And She's messing
Sorry,
with
I'm
the
messing around with the microphone.
Sorry for the noise.
I want her to be able to hear. I want them to be able to hear you. Okay, go ahead.
And so, when we got to this discussion about spirituality and meditation and all that kind of stuff, I was open to it. I don't know that I had a lot of confidence that I would be successful, only because as we would try it, then I would fall asleep or I would be busy.
Okay, wait. Let's wait. So let's do.
Sorry.
We're gonna do one obstacle at a time.
Oh.
Because I think it's really funny, and I think I should say it was funny. It was a little bit challenging in the beginning, but it was funny. So here's this funny story. Can I tell them the story about when we were out in the living room on the two couches?
Yes.
And we were doing I think we were doing a guided meditation. So we would put TV on or, and do an app or something and listen to a guided meditation or YouTube or something. I said, okay, so it's this 10-minute meditation. And I said, we're just going to start practicing. And I would give her this whole big spiel at the beginning. They just take your awareness inward and just focus on your breathing and just, just focus, try to keep, like we talked about brain waves. Like we got all the way into teaching about brain waves.
You should see my face.
That was hard, but it was so that's the book that I talk about. If you listen to my episodes, that's the book that I talk about by Anna Wise, which is Awaken the Mind, where she starts talking about brain waves. And so I come in, I'm like, wait, oh my God, brain waves. And in meditation, you're getting in this brain wave state, in this relaxed state. And she's like, oh, good. We're going to learn about the brain waves.
Now, here's the thing. You have to understand that she starts these conversations at 10 o'clock at night when I've been up since 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, worked all day while she's, in between other stuff she's doing. She's reading and she's meditating and we've come home and we've made dinner and we got the kids to bed and I am exhausted. And now she wants to talk to me about sleepy brainwaves.
And I do talk about them a little bit in the podcast. And of course, I don't go into all, and I don't even know all of everything about the brainwaves, like the hertz and the speed and all that. Like to me, that is not the necessary part of knowing that you need to know to begin a meditation practice. But I started talking about theta practice. Do you remember that?
Yes, of course.
And in our master class, we were teaching this other class with these other group of gals that were with us, and we started talking about theta practice. And it's basically, and I'm not going to, just one sentence is just about, before everyone clicks off, oh God, we're done. But it really
I won't let her, you guys.
It really is just about like that relaxed state of mind. And so I give a couple of examples, like, you're watching the Super Bowl and you're just in this this very sleepy state. You can kind of hear some people talking maybe, and you could sort of hear the game, and you could be like totally paralyzed really. And that's kind of this meditative state. So I said, okay, well, basically take what we called a theta nap and just kind of practice getting that state. So that's what I tell her while we're in the living room and we're doing this guided meditation. And, so I don't know, we're probably 2 minutes in.
It was more than 2.
3 minutes in.
Stop it.
And, I hear this noise and I'm like, I kind of open one eye and I look over at her and, she's got her head back and I'm like, okay, so she's all right. She's in, whatever.
She's in.
She's in. All right. And then all of a sudden I hear this noise and it becomes clearer that she's all the way out and down she goes. So
I skipped right over theta and went right to delta.
Right to nap time.
Yeah.
So, but here's the thing. Do you remember what I would say? Here was another epiphany about those who fall asleep. So if you who are listening, if you are someone who falls asleep, that there are basically 2 reasons that you can think of, that we can think of.
Yep.
And that I would teach because they're like, oh, I tried meditation, I just fall asleep. I hear that all the time from clients. We're teaching about meditation. We have our booths where we teach people how to meditate. We have tons of great tools and products that help with meditation. So what are the 2 things?
Either that's what your body needs.
Yeah.
Which mine needs it all the time.
Especially if you're with someone like me who's like teaching you all these like massive topics.
Right.
Let's teach metaphysics at 10 o'clock at night.
Oh my goodness. And then the other is you could be clearing something really big.
Yeah. And the way to know, do you remember what the way to know is? So when you're doing a guided meditation, let's say you do a 20-minute guided meditation, Do you want to do it?
I do know.
Okay, so if you're doing a guided meditation, here's how to know maybe what your
Need is.
if you matched one of those two things. Okay, go ahead.
So if your body just needs sleep, then even when the meditation is done, you will continue to sleep.
Yeah.
And you'll wake up sometime later.
Yeah.
If you're clearing something big, then as soon as the meditation is over, you will wake up.
Yeah. And there were times I did that in the very beginning. Like years and years ago where I would listen to what I used to do is I'd go to the library and I would get a meditation book that had walkthroughs that you could read. And I would read them into my little recorder. Remember, it's like a little private detective recorder that they would like the DA or whoever would set like on the table when they're interviewing the bad guy. I had this little recorder. So I would record into this little tape some of these meditations from a book. And so now I would have them. So I'd take the book back to the library and have this recording. And so 20 minutes later, I'd wake up to it. To my own voice, but I would wake up and I'm just like, oh great, I slept through that whole thing. Well, even back then it was like, did I do it?
Yeah. Right.
Did I meditate?
Yeah.
So anyway, but if you're clearing some really heavy stuff and you wake up at the end of 20 minutes, please know that you just didn't have to be conscious. You didn't have to be aware of what you were clearing. And that guided meditation, it got in there. It got into your subconscious mind. You cleared some heavy crap and just be grateful for it. That's what I said.
Absolutely.
So that's that's one of our top, I guess, we'll talk about our top 4 obstacles. And that's one of them is that we fall asleep. The other one is,
distraction.
oh God, that's number 1. Let's do that one. Let's do that one at the last.
Okay.
So there's I don't know what to do. Right? That's one of them. I don't know what to do. I meditate and I don't know what to do. I can't focus. I can't sit still. Those two kind of go together. Can't focus, can't sit still. Mm-hmm. I fall asleep and I don't have time. Yes. So let's talk about I don't have time.
Okay.
So Amy, we both are, and probably a lot of you are, is that you want to get things done. You want to accomplish things. You want to feel like at the end of the day, you've checked off a bunch of things on the list. You did things around the house. You engaged with your physical environment and you feel accomplished at the end of the day. That is always something that we say and talk about in this house. And I think that it's important to understand when you say something like you don't have time, I think it's, I forget, is it the Dalai Lama that says it? He says, if you don't have, you should meditate every day for an hour. Or 20 minutes or something. He says that you should meditate every day for 20 minutes. And if you don't have 20 minutes, then you should meditate for an hour.
Right.
So there's this thing about time and meditation that it kind of slows things down. But what it actually does, do you remember what this is? What it actually does? So when you start meditating, you call back your energy. And so now you're like a laser light versus a floodlight. And now you have this immense amount of focus. And now you can get shit done.
That's right. That's right.
And we're not. I don't know if I have any podcast episodes about the mala beads, but that was our very first tool. But we're not going to talk about that in this episode. But I want to talk about distraction now.
Well, in the time, just to go back before before we move on is. So one of the things that we've been doing this year specifically is, so I have to get up at like 5:30 in the morning to get our oldest son on the bus. And
well, the middle son, the oldest one's out of the house.
I'm sorry, you are correct.
The oldest one's still living at home, which is technically the middle.
Yeah.
Try to keep up with that.
That's right. So getting him on the bus and so then now I'm up earlier than I need to be up. It gives me a little bit of extra time in the morning. And so our youngest son has been getting up with me, getting up 10 minutes earlier. And him and I will sit in the living room and I'll set the timer for 10 minutes. And together we will do a meditation. And so it's been this really great feeling of accomplishment, but just making that time, just the 10 minutes. Certainly we could do it for longer. Certainly I'm sure that we need to at times, but it is a great accomplishment just to be able to knock out that 10 minutes.
Well, and what does that, I want to rewind a little bit further. So we started talking about meditation. I want to come right to this right now, come right to what they're talking about with Amy and Cameron meditating in the morning is that Amy and I, for years, we, together for 12 years, I would say the first 8 years we talked about meditation and probably didn't do it more than just a couple times in a row. And I would always come back to it. And I recognized my moods, like my moods shift more drastically than Amy's does. Like I am a 1 and a 10 several times throughout the day. And Amy is a pretty even 3 to 6 throughout the day. And any day, right? And so I knew that I needed that. I needed to go inward to help manage my emotions because I would just like go crazy off the chain for just the craziest, stupidest, smallest things. And when you're raising kids, that's often, right? That's not every day. It is, every 10 minutes. And we just couldn't do it anymore. And I had enough.
Don't like roller coasters.
I had enough. No, we don't like roller coasters, emotional or environmental. And we knew, and we talked about it often. And it was interesting because I would do like, okay, my goal is to do 7 in a row. I'm going to meditate every single day. And I would get 5 in a row, but I would notice that big thing is that then I would start to become more like a 3 and a 6 throughout the day.
Yeah.
And, or I would notice huge, fast results drastic results. That, when he would do this before, I would get all pissed off about it. And now it's like, it doesn't bother me at all. And so we were always for several, almost years talking about that, okay, Jen, you really need to meditate every day. And I would say, Amy, let's do it together. And we would attempt a few of them together. But something shifted this year.
Well, and the hard part about us doing it together was by the time we got done with the day, it was so tired.
Yeah. We had to find time in there, but just like a lot of households, there's just lots of busyness happening, right? And our schedules and stuff. So, but there was a big shift. I had a major shift in, back in like September, October. And I talk about it. I would like to tell you what episode it's in, but, it was a major shift, and I talk about this like really low time I had for several weeks, and I do feel like that was a really big transformational shift for me. And the beginning of this year, we'd been talking about it, I'm not kidding, like 8 years, and we've been talking about it for so long, and then all of a sudden, we come up with this idea, like probably somewhere in December, we're not only going to meditate every day, we're going to kick it off, and we're going to go 3 times a day.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to meditate in the morning. Well, the two of them are going to meditate in the morning, and then Amy has a lunch break, and so she'll meditate on lunch, and I'll meditate in the morning on my own and meditate in the afternoon, during a transition from like recording or, creating or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then we'll meditate together at night. And so tell us about that transition. Like talk about how we went from talking about this for 8 years to just all of a sudden we just smoothly transitioned into these meditations. Like, do you remember the shift?
I would love to tell you this big thing that all of a sudden made it successful. The one thing that I do think about is there was a particular thing that I was working on from a manifesting perspective. And just before the end of the year, Jen and I had done some coaching together and some visualizing of this particular thing. And I'm always very hard on myself. I fall asleep, or, I can't focus, or, some of the coaching is always challenging. Not always, but has been at times quite challenging for me. And so then I worry about it ahead of time, or I get down on myself about it before we even start. And this particular session went really, really well. And I felt the things I was supposed to feel. I had, I created an emotion upon visualizing this manifestation. And so I felt very successful. And so I think that helped me going into the first of the year and committing to those meditations and measuring my success differently than you would measure yours, or even I would measure yours. For example, a success for me is, you know, I know we haven't talked about distraction yet, but I get distracted, but then just bring it back and just continue to bring it back. I might not have had a full 10-minute meditation without distraction.
Yeah.
But I didn't give up, or I didn't, you know.
Isn't that the case though? When you're starting to learn something new and you're learning from someone, is that how far ahead of you is that teacher that you're learning from?
Yep.
And if they're really far ahead of you, then it can be a little discouraging that you're like, I want to be able, like, let's pretend, I can't, but let's pretend that I could totally sit in an hour-long meditation and not be distracted. Let's just pretend. And then if I'm your teacher and you're starting out at 0 and you're like, God, I can't do it for 2 minutes without distraction, and I have to get to an hour, the gap might be too big. And so if there was a time that you were comparing yourself to me, that I can see where that would be discouraging.
Right, absolutely. Well, and if we're not having that conversation that says, here are ways for you to measure your success.
Yeah.
Because I would tell you and you're like, oh my gosh, that's so great that you are aware of that and brought yourself back. I'm like, really?
Oh, that's a success? So let's talk about that. So we were talking, I remember, I don't know, it was one afternoon, but this year so far, like let's say it was the end of January. And I'm like, so how are you guys doing? Are you still? And I really assumed that she would say, no, we haven't meditated in a long time. And when she said yes, I'm like, I felt so amazing it felt so great because it was like 6 or 8 weeks in a row. And they were still meditating every single morning. And now the other part is they're practicing the very beginning stages. It's 10 minutes and tell them what you're doing. Like,
so we're just really trying to focus. Is that what you mean? Or
yeah, but you're not doing a...
Like, oh, no. We're not doing a guided meditation. We're just sitting in silence.
Yep.
And, you know, our goal is to try to minimize the distraction and just really stay focused.
Mm-hmm. So we talked about the success of that. So for you that are listening, your mind is going to wander. So here's a very beginning technique. And as you get better at this, these are some areas of success.
Listen, before you get started, I have to tell them, like, I am the queen of monkey mind when I am meditating. I mean, you know, I remember it still happens, but I remember when we would first start and I'm like, okay. And so I like close my eyes and I'm ready. And I'm like sitting there. Ooh, I have to put that on the grocery list.
Yeah.
Ooh, I have to return those shoes.
Yeah. I got to send an email to...
I forgot to tell her. I mean, my goodness gracious. It was...
Now, but that is the mind fighting. That is the mind fighting for its attention. So that's where we have to... The other part of our mind has to go, no, we're going to sit here and we're going to relax. I will get to the grocery list. I will get to the email. I will return those shoes. I'm not going to forget those things. But right now what we're going to do is we're going to sit and we're just going to we're going to get to the place where we turn off all thought, because eventually, you guys listen to this, eventually your body, that part that wants to get up and move and get going and engage, right, with the world, it will subside. And it will subside, and eventually it's going to give up and just go, okay, go ahead. We'll let you sit here.
Yep.
And so tell them about the successes. Here's some things to look at when you're succeeding, just to know that you're successful. So you're in the space in your head. There's no sound. There's no guided meditation. You're just trying to be quiet, and you are not focusing, and all of a sudden, you know, you're like off, you're going onto the grocery list. Is that you go, oh, my thoughts are going onto the grocery list. I need to bring them back to feeling my body or focusing on my breathing. Mm-hmm. And have you noticed the results of that? So now we're kind of come full term here, full circle.
Yeah. Definitely. I mean, one of the things that I try to do is not only just focus on my breathing, but focusing on a couple of different words. So I'll breathe in whatever emotion I'm trying to bring about, and then exhale whatever emotion is challenging or that I don't want.
Give them an example using words. They could be just example words or something that what you were doing that day.
So I believe the words I had that day were breathing in harmony and breathing out discord.
Yeah. And so what that does is it gives the brain something to do for a second. So then once a brain has something to do, it will focus on that thing.
Right.
But then what are you also doing at the same time? You're going inward. You're focusing on your breathing. You're not engaging with the external environment. And when you recognize that there's a couple of things that you can do that, oh, I'm doing this thing, and look at, I am managing my thoughts and I have the ability to focus. And then this is kind of exciting. Like, I'm having success with this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we are a very distracted society. I mean, if you just scroll for, 8 seconds down your news feed and look at how many things sing and dance and pop up in your face, or on your computer or whatever, is all these things are how do you say, they're like really striving to get your attention.
Yeah.
And so years ago we used to have, a 30-minute attention span, and now it's hardly 3 seconds. And so, you get social media and all this technology in our phones, and things are buzzing and beeping and scrolling and popping in our face. Well, no wonder when we close our eyes that our body's like, okay, I'm ready for a nap, or I'm ready to, to tell you all the memories you had from high school. So what have you noticed in the outside world that is a result, you think a direct result from meditating?
Well, it certainly feels good, and the successes that I've been having in the actual act of meditating are feeling good. And I think that it helps me when I'm trying to focus on getting stuff done, because, not always, but sometimes I can at least try to focus on one task at a time.
Well, it's hard when you really want to accomplish a lot.
Yeah.
But you said earlier that confidence, like you feel just a little bit more.
True. You're right. Yeah.
Confidence, and there's that when you start becoming successful in something, there's this pride and confidence that, oh, I'm learning the skill, right? I'm getting better at the skill. But then it's kind of washing over into other things too, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely it is. And probably I don't always recognize it until we're sitting here talking about it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And we can't tell you about the thing that she's trying to manifest until it comes full circle. Like, we're still really doing some energy work on this thing, but maybe we'll share that in some other podcast. But I think that it's really important to understand that when you start having success with meditation and you start working in that space and you're building that confidence, is that then that overflows into the rest of the world, rather than, well, I have confidence in meditation, but I go out into the world and I don't have confidence out there.
Right.
That I think that once you can start to unlock that emotional state and you start feeling the sensation and the emotion of confidence, that you're like, damn, like, this is really exciting. I'm going to carry this with. And when the body starts to recognize that and it becomes a habit, well, then of course it's going to overflow.
Absolutely.
Out into the world. Yeah.
I think the thing to keep in mind as you're beginning your meditation practice is to go easy on yourself.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Really, really, really go easy on yourself, because the fact that you're even thinking about doing it, and then that you're doing it, even if it's for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, there have been a couple of mornings where, Cameron got up late, or we might have been running behind.
Yeah.
And so we do 5 minutes instead of 10, but at least we're doing it.
Right.
So there's all those kinds of successes. So my best advice from my own experience and observing Jen do it and all the things that she's successful at, and then just kind of getting down on myself, my best piece of advice is to just baby steps.
Yeah.
Baby steps.
Well, and speaking of baby steps, a baby learns to walk, without being taught. They don't go to class. True. Nobody really tries to teach them, but they get up and they try and they fail over 1,000 times. And then now look at you. And now look at you. Everybody, look at yourself. Can you walk? You tried and failed 1,000 times. Now you're like, well, yeah, but I don't remember. But if you've ever watched a baby, they get frustrated.
Sure.
They get frustrated when they're up and down but they just turn back around, they get back on. And did it take you 1,000 days to be successful at meditation? No. But you know what? She might not be as successful as she wants to be, but she's more successful than she used to be.
That's right. Absolutely.
Write that down. That was a good one.
Well said.
So baby steps, and I think that we have overcome I think all of the obstacles. I can't find time. 10 minutes. 10 minutes or 5 minutes. Every single day, just focus your mind, focus on your breathing, focus on a word, bring your attention and your awareness to how your body feels on the inside. We have had so much fun exploring different types of meditations and different energy works and different, like bringing our awareness to different parts of our energy. We did this, this is the mode of receiving. And in this guided meditation, he says, now ask yourself what it feels like to receive. And I'm telling you, that emotional state that I feel is so incredible. And that just continues to give me this feeling of excitement of what else is out there. What else is in there, because we're bringing our awareness inward.
That's right.
And so overcoming, we talked about the 4 obstacles. So falling asleep and why you would fall asleep. And she doesn't do that anymore. So at 10 minutes, you don't fall back to sleep, do you?
Nope.
You don't have time. 5 or 10 minutes is all it takes and practice. You get distracted. When you notice that you are distracted, is bring your awareness back to your breathing or back to your back to the inside of your body, and or use a word. Breathe a word in that you want to feel and exhale a word that you don't. And then the other one is can't sit still. And that is, again, it goes hand in hand with distraction, is allowing the body to just relax. And eventually the body will relent. The body will go, okay, I give up. I'll just sit here then. Yeah. And you just have to keep doing it. And you just have to keep overcoming. Because how many years have you been distracting yourself? And now it doesn't take that long to start building the success, but it does take a little bit of practice. And we're all having the success in this house right now. So
yes, we are.
Do you have any final words you want to share with them? You said baby steps, which was
baby steps. Don't give up.
Don't give up.
And just start.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't, and I was like measuring myself against a standard, and just start.
Unbelievable. Really good. Like I would have given you some, meditation 300 where she's giving you some meditation 101.
Yes.
Just start and do it again and then again and again and again, and you will find levels of success, and they will overflow into your life that are beyond measure.
And just look for those successes and just, they might be tiny, but they'll be there. Yeah. Because if you're trying to look at it's really no different than losing weight, and you're mad because you didn't lose 10 pounds in 1 week. Yeah. You know, you just have to look at the successes that you had.
Right. And that might not be the physical successes, like, oh, I don't have the money or the guy or the groceries or the food, or not food, but the new car or the new house. It's like, but what do you have? Yeah. I have the discipline. I'm sitting every day. I feel more relaxed. I'm getting along. I feel kinder. I feel more patient. I feel more loving towards my family. That is success.
Oh my gosh.
That's the stuff that matters.
That's huge. Yeah.
And so pay attention to those little successes. So keep going. Don't give up. Keep overcoming the body. It didn't take you, one day to become a distracted being. It's not going to take you one day to become a focused being, but
so true.
And don't give up.
Don't give up.
Thank you so much, Amy. I really appreciate you joining me today.
You're welcome.
And everyone, hopefully we gave you a nugget of inspiration today, and I think I've talked about it a couple of times, and I always want to mention, if you want to go deeper, if you want to take this to a level deeper and really start to bring some healing and some connection and learn to create your life, we talk about meditation like crazy, and we practice them. We do guided meditations, and we share some really powerful ones that we find. And I have a new, where I'm recording them soon. It started already anyway, is recording some powerful guided meditations for my Rise Up group coaching program. So if you are interested, find us on Chakras for Beginners on the Facebook page. You can friend me on Facebook under Jen Mack, JenMac. Send me a message. Send me an email at themeditationroomtc at gmail.com and tell us you're interested, and I will let you know when the next one opens up. I hope to see you. Thanks, Amy, for joining.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
All right, and we'll talk to you guys later. Take care.
Bye.
Thanks for listening. And if you were inspired by this episode and are looking for healing, transformational growth, and a community to show up in, then please join me on Facebook under Jen Mac, JenMac. Friend me and follow me. You can also reach out to me via Messenger to see when my next program begins so we can work together to bring about your healing, deepen your connections, and start to create your bold, beautiful life. Also, if you are inspired by my podcast, please share your opinion in a review so others can be inspired too. Keep growing, going, and transforming, and keep looking for those nuggets of inspiration.